Om Jnanatimrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmalatam Yena Tasmat Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master has kindly opened my eyes with his shining torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I therefore offer my respectful obeisance to the Son to his lotus feet. Okay, so we're reading from the 6th chapter, Bhagavad Gita. Text number 33. So last week we just talked on the subject of the translation, just elaborated a bit about the translation. So now we've got the purport to go through. Chapter 6, text 33. So we can read the Sanskrit. Arjuna uvacha.
Arjuna
Uvacha.
Uvacha.
Yeah. That means said. Uvacha means said. So Arjuna uvacha means Arjuna said. Yeah. And underneath it's got that in the word for word translation. Arjuna said. Yoyam yogas tvaya prokta.
Yoyam yogas tvaya prokta.
Samyena Madhusūdana.
Samyena Madhusūdana.
Etasyaham na pashyami.
Etasyaham na pashyami.
Chanchalatvat stitim stiram.
Chanchalatma stitiram.
Ah, Gulshan's joined us. Welcome, welcome.
Sorry, I was
Haribo.
my
No, that's okay.
landlord. It's okay.
No worries, no worries. Let's do it once more, that one. Arjuna uvacha.
Arjuna uvacha.
Yoyam yogas tvaya prokta.
Yogam yoyatavas protang.
Samyena Madhusūdana.
Samyena Madhusūdana.
Etasyaham na pashyami.
Itasyaham na pashyami.
Chanchalatvat stitim stiram.
Chanchalva stitit stiram.
Anyone else like to have a go at leading the verse?
Josh has
How's
got a
your
very good
Sanskrit
Sanskrit.
going, Josh?
No, my Sanskrit is very poor now. I've forgotten everything.
Nah, come on. Give it a go. You're a writer. You wrote a book.
Okay. Arjuna uvacha.
Arjuna uvacha.
Yogas tvaya prokta.
Yoyam yogas tvaya prokta.
Samyena Madhusūdana.
Samyena Madhusūdana.
Tasyaham na pashyami.
Etasyaham na pashyami.
Chanchalatvat stitim stiram.
Chanchalatvat stitim stiram.
Very good, actually. Being a foreigner, reading the Sanskrit like that, I can't even read. Being an Indian, I read Sanskrit in the school. That's awesome. Thank you, Josh.
Oh, thank you. I was looking at some Devanagari before though, and I was like, oh no, I forgot. Oh.
But it'll come back to you. It'll come back.
It came back. Yeah.
It'll come back. Yeah. Okay, Bob, would you like to read the translation, please?
Arjuna said, O Madhusūdana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical, unendurable. To me, for the mind is restless and unsteady.
Okay, last week we talked about one of Krishna's names called Madhusūdana, which is mentioned here. Does anyone remember what Madhusūdana means?
Oh, that's he killed the demon.
Yes.
That's
He killed one demon
Madhu.
called Madhu in the beginning of
Madhu.
the creation of the universe. Madhu and Kaitaba, the original demons, they went to steal the Vedas. They attempted to steal the Vedas after it came from one of the mouths of Brahma, Lord Brahma. Then they attempted to steal that, and then Krishna appeared in an incarnation to retrieve the Vedic knowledge. That would have been a disaster if the knowledge had been taken away. So Krishna saves the day once again, and he retrieved the Vedas there. So he's known as Madhusūdana. So why is that? You remember what I said? That's not by chance that this name of the Lord is mentioned here. You're basically killer of the enemies. So why is it mentioned? You remember what I said? What's the significance why Arjuna is addressing him by this name, you know, killer of the demon, killer of the demons, killer of the enemies? Do we have our own demons? That's the question, you remember?
Yep.
Where are they? Or where are some of them?
Mind.
Yeah, in our mind. So like here, Arjuna has doubt in his mind. He has doubts in his mind that he's thinking, I can't practice this yoga system. It's not possible for me to practice it. I can't do it. You know, so he's having doubts in his mind. So these doubts are compared to demons. You know, their doubts come from ignorance. Doubts come from ignorance. Because of a lack of knowledge, we have some doubt. Obviously, if you have full knowledge, then you won't have any doubts. Why do we have a doubt? Because we don't have full knowledge. So we have some doubts. So doubts come from ignorance. So also typically, what is a demon? A demon is someone that's ignorant. You know, they're ignorant of who they are, the soul. They're ignorant of who the supreme soul is, the supreme being, Bhagavan. They're ignorant of Bhagavan. They're ignorant of the soul. They're ignorant of their relationship like that. So there's a lot of ignorance there, and that's why they're acting as demons. Of course, ultimately, no one is a demon. Ultimately, everyone is a soul, right? So eternally we're a soul and we're part of the supreme. But due to being covered by illusion, we're acting in some other way. You know, we're acting in some other way, you know, in forgetfulness of who we are in our original relationship with the supreme and everyone else. But that's just a temporary covering. That's just a temporary covering. So ultimately, the self-realized soul doesn't just see the externals. Oh, this is a man, this is a woman, this is black, this is white, this is a demon, this is a demigod, you know, like that. These are all externals. But ultimately, we see that the main thing is that we're a soul, you know, aham brahmasmi. We're part of the supreme. And therefore, a self-realized person has respect for every living being, has respect for every living being in whatever external form they take, but there'll be love and respect there for every living being. But that doesn't mean we're going to treat every living being exactly the same. Like, I mean, you know, I love and respect the tiger because ultimately it's a soul. But if it comes towards me, I'm not going to go up to give it a hug. You know, I might run up the nearest tree or something like that, you know. So you might, even though we see that ultimately everything's equal and that everything has a eternal spiritual nature and is part of the supreme, but practically speaking, we may adjust our interactions, you know, according to what we're dealing with. If some living being is covered by, you know, hunger for human flesh, like a tiger, then you might deal with it differently than you would if it was some saintly person walking towards you. So some saintly person walking towards you is in the mode of goodness, so sattva guna, and you treat that differently than if some tiger, which is in the mode of passion, rajaguna, is coming towards you, or some maybe drunk person, which is in the mode of ignorance, you know, walking towards you. If it was a drunk person, maybe you would avoid them because it's like a bad influence like that. So you might avoid them, but it doesn't mean you hate them. And you still respect them as a soul, but you're just treating differently, you know, according to the external covering is there, because you don't want to do anything that's unfavorable for your own spiritual progress. Like, if you don't do anything and the tiger just runs up to you and gobbles you up, is that unfavorable for your spiritual progress?
It'd slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, like, will it really slow your chanting down, you know, and slow your meditation down, yeah, if it gobbled you up? Yeah, so that's not good, you know. So, you know, but if you associate with a saintly person, that's really good for your spiritual progress. So you try to get more association with that, and less of the tiger and the drunkard or whatever. Of course, you could try to help the drunkard, you know, come out of the mode of ignorance. So, you know, like we have one of our neighbors is usually intoxicated most of the time, but we give him some prasadam. So, and he says Hare Krishna to us, and you know, so that's good for him. That's good for him. So, and then that's how we show our love for them, by trying to give, you know, that we try to give them some spiritual connection there. And but if I go into his place, which is a real dump and covered with beer cans and everything, and drink with him, you know, then that's going to pull down my consciousness, and it's not going to be good for me, and it's not going to be good for him either, because if he becomes responsible for pulling down someone else's consciousness, then that's some bad karma for him too. So it's actually you're hurting him by doing that as well. It's hurting yourself. So in that way, you know, there has to be some discrimination. Although we've been reading about that and how the yogi sees spiritual vision, sees all living entities on the same level. We're all part and parcel of the Supreme. We're all coming from the same source. But how you apply that, yeah, we just have to apply it very carefully. So that's on the deeper level, we see that, but on the day-to-day level, we just apply it in a way that's going to be beneficial for everyone. Okay. Does anyone want to say anything about that? Otherwise, we'll go into the purport. All good? Okay. Josh, would you like to start reading, please?
Yep. The system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, beginning with the words Sukha Dese, ending with Yogi Paramaha, here being rejected by Arjuna out of a sense of inability. It's not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to a secluded place in the mountains or jungles to practice yoga in this age of Kali. The present age is characterized by a bitter struggle for a life of short duration. People are not serious about self-realization by simple practical means, to speak. The yoga system, which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, the selection of place, detachment of the mind from material engagements. As a practical man, Arjuna thought it was impossible to follow this system. He was favorably endowed in many ways. Belonged to a royal family, he was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior, had great longevity, and above all, he was the most intimate friend of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 5,000 years ago, Arjuna had much better facilities than we do now, yet he refused to accept this system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of his practicing at any time. Therefore, this system must be considered generally impossible in this age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some very few rare men, but for the people in general, possible proposal. If this were so 5,000 years ago, then what are the present day? Those who are imitating this yoga system in different so-called schools and societies, although complacent, are certainly wasting their time. They are completely goal. Scandalous thing to say. Prabhupada, I don't know about that.
It's interesting that,
Yeah.
Josh read that one.
Yeah.
There is a reason. It's connected
I mean,
to the
but
last week conversation.
I'm sure you would agree, Josh, that most yoga schools, their conception of yoga and practice of yoga is very superficial.
Yes.
Yeah, so they haven't really got to the essence of it, have they?
No.
Or you could say the conclusion of it, which, as you know, is samadhi. So, I mean, most of them never go anywhere near, that. They mainly, as you know, deal with asana and a bit of pranayama, which is just 2 of the 8, so.
They're lucky, yeah.
If they're lucky. So, I mean, that's what Prabhupada's indicating here. They're not really practicing the yoga system, as it was originally conceived by Patanjali. Did you want to say anything more about that, or?
Yeah, and so like, and he's being very stern here. He's being calling it how he sees it, right? And there's no love in like holding back sometimes, especially if you're a spiritual teacher. You need to say this is rubbish. What you're doing is not yoga. And if you're too polite, going, oh well, look, you're doing a good job with the asana. Oh, it's very, very good. It would be good if you did some other things as well, like some chanting. That's not necessarily going to get the outcome that you need. These spiritual teachers, the best ones, sometimes they are a little bit mean. The same goes. Sorry, Bhaktivinoda. The same goes for those people that I mentioned last time, like Aurobindo and Shankara, who were born, and they said the same thing to the Vedic priests. They said, you are doing the oblations, you're throwing ghee in the fire, but what of your life? What are you teaching? What is your practice? Just as bad.
Yeah, actually, the meaning of guru is heavy. Heavy. So they can, with their words, be very heavy. Heavy on what? It's heavy for our false ego to handle. Heavy on the ignorance, on anything that falls short of surrender to the Supreme, then they can be very heavy. But that's out of love. Like sometimes we see, especially previously, parents were quite heavy with the children in terms of discipline. Very discipline for the children, everything like that could be quite heavy. But what was their motivation behind that heavy behavior?
Or rid of their frustration.
No.
That's what happened to my dad.
That's
my dad was bashing me without any, notice or anything there, whenever he feel like it.
Yeah, so therefore that's been stopped in many societies around the world, because many of the parents are not behaving like a so-called normal parent, which loves the children. They might be drunk or something, come home and bash the children or whatever like that. So that's been, curtailed in most societies. But previously, the parents, of course, they all love their kids and they want the kids to turn out really good. So there may be some discipline there. But that was meant that, they want the children to turn out good, on the right track, and don't want them to develop bad behavior and get in trouble with the police and the law and the government. And they want their kids to be an honest citizen. And so they teach them, not to steal and lie and so forth. And, if any bad habits, they might punish them in some way like that. So their intention was out of love. So in the same way, the guru is like a spiritual father, sometimes can be very heavy with the disciple. Of course, generally the guru is heavy with his disciple, someone that's agreed to surrender. He's not heavy with like just everyone, if they haven't come to surrender, then he might not say anything. But with the disciple, they can be very strict, and but that is for the benefit, because they love the person and they want to help them progress spiritually.
As well, that they say with the children when they grow up, they understand. They might reflect on some of the things that their parents said or the ways that they behaved, and they kind of understand. They go, oh, okay, yeah, he was, mum or dad was very rough that time. Dad said, if you stay out after 6 p.m., you'll get kidnapped and stolen. Someone will kidnap you. To a child, that maybe that one thing, that the father exaggerated, might have really sunk in and really meant a lot. And they can, as an adult, see it as an exaggeration. Okay, maybe you could get kidnapped, but it's not certain. I remember a teacher once told me when I was in primary school, that I was slouching over my desk. The teacher said to me, "You slouch or you'll become a hunchback." Like, oh my God, I don't know what to become a hunchback. Oh, I'll be all deformed. Oh, no. So then always I am like sitting up very, very straight. People tell me I have great posture, And so it's like, I understand, like it reached me, it was maybe a necessary exaggeration. So here we have a modern day spiritual teacher providing a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
And, it's possible that some of the things that Prabhupada says are slightly exaggerated, tended to motivate us. They're not necessarily statements of fact. I would say that the Bhagavad Gita is more of a statement of fact. Prabhupada is delivering the information in America in the 70s or 80s, and he's saying things in a way that is direct, and targeted, and motivating to get you to wake up and to do your practice. It doesn't necessarily mean that every single literal thing he ever said is literal.
I mean, of course, we know that does happen sometimes, but in this case, as a spiritual teacher, I would say it is a literal thing. It's not like exaggerated. I mean, one thing you'll notice is that he says this yoga system is possible for a very few people. And I would say Josh is in that few category, that he can go further than the asana and pranayama, and is going more deeply into the yoga system. But I don't think it's exaggerated where he says that, for the general masses of people in general, it's an impossible proposal. I mean, especially if you want to take this dhyana yoga or Ashtanga yoga system in toto, because he says starting from Suche Deshe. So that was in the 11th verse of this chapter, and saying, and ending with Yogi Parama. So that was in the previous verse. So if you go there from verse 11 to verse 33, there's a lot of stuff there that people can't follow, like that Solche Deshe, the first one. You have to go and live in the forest. You have to go and live in the forest and detach yourself from everything and everyone you care about and love and everything. And, sit on a deer skin on kusha grass, and you have to do fasting and everything like that, and you're detached from everything. So, I mean, that's not exaggerated to say that in today's world people can't do that. That a rare person can, and there are people that have gone to the Himalayas. You could go there today, although it's in the middle of winter, it might be hard to get up to where they are because they're like snowed in. But there are people in the Himalayas and different forests around the world that, are practicing those severe, detachment of yoga practices and everything like that. And they have taken this system very seriously, and they're very good at it. But that's very rare. And Of course, there are people that take up parts of this yoga system, but Prabhupada's saying, you know, that are fully taking up the full system. If they get taken up this full system, then it's very difficult for people to do. And the point is brought up in this particular place because Arjuna, who, as Prabhupada's mentioning, is far more qualified than we are now, and that's 5,000 years ago. He was a far more qualified person. He's a great warrior. He's a great king. He's a great devotee of the Supreme Being. You know, he's got control of the mind, control of the senses, everything like that. And yet he's saying it's too difficult for him. So then Prabhupada's point is, well, if he's saying 5,000 years ago when everything was more suitable for this system, then what to speak of us now? How the hell are we going to do it now? Then it's very difficult. So now, I mean, we'd have a hard time leaving behind our mobile phone, you know, let alone, you know, leaving our home and family members and everything like that. So complete detachment from all material things. Isn't it like you know, Josh could tell us more about that, you know, that dharana, you know, withdrawing the senses, and that's very hard, you know, to withdraw from the external world. What's that?
That's why he bought a land in Gloucester. He's just gonna move away from the yeah.
Yeah, so that,
there is, I think that even within Hare Krishnas, you know, like my guru said to me, one of his instructions was to do asana because I needed to, even with my chanting and everything like that, I needed to learn how to relax more. And he saw that within me, and he's like, you know, it would be really helpful for you to do some yoga practice like asana and everything. So there is still a space for
definitely
as well. Like I think that should be mentioned as well. Like it's not.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. And there's no question this system is the best for our physical health.
Yeah.
And that physical health is a great platform to advance spiritually.
Yeah.
If we have that physical health, and that's why, you know, we're trying to grow our own food and eat organic and fresh and everything, because it's good for our health, and we can use that to advance in spiritual life. But we're talking about as a means for spiritual realization.
I knew that. I just wanted to add that's, you know.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
As a means to achieve good health, this is number one. But if you want to take it to the point of to get spiritual realization, through this process is very difficult for the common person. For the rare person, that's naturally detached, and then they can also achieve some spiritual realization from this process, but it's more difficult for the general people. So that
he didn't say give up chanting and go to the forest and do yoga. He just said it would be helpful if you did some yoga as well.
This is it. I mean, oftentimes in a materialist society, we're presented with a false dichotomy. I'm sorry, my cats need to be fed.
Hello, pussycat.
There's two of them. They gang up on me. There's a false dichotomy, right? That you have to choose this or that. It's not true, though, right? You could do asana and pranayama and chanting and other things as well. You know, over the course of your life, you know, you would throw the kitchen sink at it. You do as much as you can. And maybe you have a baby and then you cannot do very much. Okay, well then, you know, you have a baby. And this is, you know, karma yoga. But then later on you can resume. Maybe, you know, certain types of yoga are more appropriate for certain stages of life, like the ashrams.
Yes.
And so there's no need to go, well, I've chosen to do Maha Mantra. That's my method. Never think about it ever again. Sorry, that's all I had to say.
No, that's okay. That's good points. Good points. So, as we've mentioned last week, I think it was, that this process, which is in this chapter, was the recommended process in another age called Satya Yuga, or Krita Yuga is another name. So that was the recommended process. But like I said, everything in the Vedas is worked out according to time, place, and circumstances. So you got to see every instruction, according to those three things. What is the time? What is the place? What is the circumstances or the people involved there? So for that particular time and those circumstances, what are the circumstances? People living for 100,000 years. People have a fantastic memory. People naturally have good qualities. Like they naturally have control of their mind, naturally have control of their senses. Naturally, there's not really any sinful activities going on. So there was no meat eating, very rare.
They're all getting organic food.
Yeah, all getting organic food, so, and that was the whole society where
no corona, no COVID, nothing.
None of those things. And they're like forest dwellers. There wasn't like so many big cities and everything like that. So it was just very natural that people would do that.
But people are already, creating and sometimes recreating that style of living right now.
Yeah,
and you've got farms.
Maybe
and
only 2% out of 100%.
Yeah. But if you're in the 2%, it's fine. Like, who cares?
Yeah, if you are, you'd be lucky. You bought a Gloucester, I didn't.
You can visit though,
Oh, sure. Oh, everybody witnessed that? 4 people witnessed?
Yeah, you're allowed to go.
Yeah, thank you, Bhakti Mala.
If we start with, like, this is my problem with this Kali Yuga, right? Starting by telling people, hey, don't bother trying because you'll never get there. Because the world's, no good. Food is bad and, too short. You're not 10 foot tall and it's bad. Don't even think about it. You will fail. You're going to fail if you try. So don't do it. Don't. Just do chanting. That's all you can ever do. Okay? No. Don't even think about it. No. It's no good.
Chanting's so powerful, it changes your life. So
but why not also buy property, set up organic food? Why not provide a place and make this planet, make this world a wonderful place? Why not improve things, even though you might think, oh my God, we are on such a back foot here, things have become so terrible, but we still can make it better. And if we start by going, oh, we can't make it better, well, then we won't make it better. But if we start going, hey, Krishna might empower us to make it better, then we can make it better.
Yeah. No, we fully agree with that, Josh, that on one side, yes, Kali Yuga is materially a difficult time, but that we should make it better. And that is the endeavor that every spiritualist makes, that we want to make our own life better. We don't just want to surrender to the status quo. And by making our own life better, if we become better, then we can influence people around us, their lives to become better, the environment around us become better, everything. I mean, one time Lord Chaitanya asked Haridas Thakur, this is 500 years ago, how do we deliver all the non-moving living entities? So non-moving living entities obviously means plants and so forth. They can't move. So that means, the devotees are thinking even about the welfare of even the plants, what to speak of people. And Haridas Thakur said that by the loud chanting of the Lord's holy names can deliver or liberate, give moksha to even the plants. So definitely that's there. We should, think about our own benefit, that and we'd be very enthusiastic about that, very confident about that. Yes, we can improve our lives, and we're very enthusiastic and confident that we can do that. And also we're enthusiastic and confident that we can help improve nature around us and other people's lives and other, animals and everything's lives around us too. I mean, it's said that simultaneously Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. Kaliya Doshe Nidhe Rajan, that's in the 12th canto of the Bhagavad Purana. But there is one good quality. And that might seem, well, that's not a very good balance, a lot of bad stuff and only one good thing. But it's mentioned that one good thing surpasses all the bad things put together. So what is that one good thing? It said simply by chanting the Lord's holy names, then one can become completely free and liberated from all of the bad stuff. So this one good thing is more powerful and outweighs all the hundreds or thousands of bad things, so it's not all, we don't present just a doom and gloom picture like that, but it is important to see what the obstacles potentially are to our spiritual practice and try to avoid them, and side by side, focus our main attention on what our goal is, our prayojana, that we want to develop a loving relationship with the Supreme Being, and which automatically includes everything else. Because as I've said many times, if you love the Supreme Being, then automatically you love everyone. But without that central point of love being, correctly worked out, then you can't really love anyone. I mean, superficially, it might seem like there's some love there, but it's nothing, no real substance there, because that love is just really directed to the body. I love this body, but, I don't love, I love white bodies, but I don't love black bodies or whatever like that. I like women's bodies, but I like women's bodies, but not men's bodies or whatever like that. I love babies' bodies, but I don't love old people's bodies, or I like Christian bodies, but I don't like Muslim bodies, or so forth like that. So otherwise that tendency happens. But if you love the source of everything, then you naturally love everyone. So that's very positive. Of course, there are spiritual paths that just focus on the negative things, like Buddhism and Shankaracharya also. It's very kind of a bit of a depressing negative philosophy, and mainly focusing on detachment. But with Krishna consciousness, I mean, that detachment side is there too, not too different from what's in Buddhism and some of the things that Shankara said. But the difference is it continues on from that. Okay, we have to detach from the material world, but the positive side is we want to attach ourselves to the spiritual world. Whereas Buddhism and Shankaracharya, they stop after detaching from the material world. There's no concept of spiritual world. As Shankaracharya talks about there just being an all-pervading oneness, Brahman, but that's nothing really much to attach yourself to. Okay, come on, guys, guys and girls, we're all going to attach ourselves to the sunshine, to the air. It's very hard to become attached to something impersonal, to some light or something. You can look at the 12th chapter, 5th verse for this this discussion. The 12th chapter, 5th verse of the Bhagavad Gita. We can have a look at that if you want. So the impersonal realization is very difficult. You can't attach yourself to something that doesn't have any personal dimension, personal aspect. But so they just really cover detachment from the material, but there's nothing positive, no spiritual positive there. But Krishna consciousness also gives that detachment from the material. It's Maya, it's temporary, suffering, all that kind of stuff. But then on the positive side, that there is an eternal existence. There is eternal blissful existence full of knowledge, Satchit Ananda. And we can have loving relationship with Krishna and unlimited other living entities too. And that's our natural life. That's our real life. And not only Positive begins once we detach from the material world and go into the spiritual world, means after the body dies, and say we do manage to reach the spiritual world. But that happiness, that positive, begins immediately. Immediately we realize our spiritual nature. Immediately we realize our spiritual nature. So that could happen now. It could have happened 10 years ago, or, it began for me 30 years ago when I first came to this, spiritual culture, spiritual knowledge. Immediately I started to feel joyful and happy, and my anxieties became less, my fear, my lamentation, my ego, and everything like that. And so it begins from when we start the spiritual path. So it's not only the whole material life is negative, but when you get to the spiritual world, it's positive. No, as soon as you transfer your consciousness in this body from the mundane material to the transcendental, to the spiritual, immediately the transformation begins from being negative and unhappy to being positive and happy. So that starts to happen immediately. And that's one of the first characteristics of bhakti mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion, is klesha agni, that it burns up all the suffering. Klesha means suffering and agni means fire. So it burns up all the miseries. And shubha dat. Shubha means auspicious or happy, and dat means give. So it gives us all kind of happiness. I mean, there's one verse by one of the great acharyas saying, Vishvam Purna Sukhayate. Vishvam means the universe. Vishvam means the universe. Purna means full or complete. And Sukhayate means happy. So for a spiritually realized person, the whole universe is a happy place. The whole universe is a happy place. For the same, for another person in mundane consciousness, the whole universe is a miserable place. So it's like in the eye of the beholder, right? So it depends on our consciousness. If you see everything in relation with the divine, with Krishna, even like, for example, this is Krishna's Maya. Krishna's illusory energy. So we don't even see Maya in a negative way. We don't hate Maya. What Maya is Krishna's servant to help those souls that wanted to forget Krishna to do that. Okay, souls wanted to forget Krishna, their relationship with Krishna, and try to become Krishna. Okay, we'll arrange that. So that Maya is making that arrangement. So we don't hate Maya. We give all respect to Maya. Maya is Krishna's servant. She's doing a very difficult job. Put up your hands if you want to take up the job of making people forget Krishna. Not many people are going to do that, so she's taken that hard task, but someone has to do it. Someone has to do it. So, but we don't even see that Maya in a negative way. She's rendering a very important function, very important purpose. But we have to understand her. We have to understand that Maya exists and what she's doing. That is a very powerful illusory energy working in this universe. And if we have the desire to forget God or imitate God, then she's going to work us over. So you better be very careful about that. And if you want to get out of the material world and go back to a loving relationship with the Supreme, then you've got to avoid doing anything that might bring you under her jurisdiction. Like, for example, intoxication, illicit sex, meat eating, and gambling. So, this brings us more under the influence of Maya. So therefore, we do those things. Someone might say, oh, you Hare Krishnas are very negative. Say no meat eating, no intoxication, all this kind of stuff. But no, it's just understanding how the material energy works. If we do those activities, we're going to get more in the mode of ignorance, more in the mode of passion. The mode of goodness will disappear. you know, to a great degree from our lives, and we'll become influenced by more ignorance and passion, and like that, the false ego will increase, the mind will become more difficult to control, you know, like that. So it's very scientific. It's very scientific. So it's just a matter of understanding how everything works and working with it in the proper way. Would anyone like to say anything about any of those things? So yeah, if we just focus on the negative, yeah, that's not balanced, you know. And if we focus only on the positive, I would say that's also not balanced, because you have to know the rules and how they work. I mean, it's like, oh, we're just going to have fun driving the car and we're going to go any speed on any side of the road. No, you can't do that. I mean, you can, but you probably won't last very long, because, you know, as soon as you go through the red light, then, you know, so you might say, oh, that's negative. Oh, you don't want to see the red light. And, you know, this, I talk about stopping all the time and everything. No, it's not about that. But you just have to know how the material energy works, and you avoid the pitfalls and the obstacles. Or if you do run into an obstacle, then this is how you deal with it. You know, like if you're in the plane and the engine cuts out, then Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You know, what else can you do, right? So like that. So you know what to do in every situation. And that's basically knowledge. So you have the knowledge, you know, so that's what Krishna consciousness is all about, having the knowledge, how to deal with every situation. Knowing what thing's favorable for my spiritual realization, I'm going to do that. And knowing what's unfavorable for my spiritual realization, and I'm not going to do that. And it's not a matter of just, you know, seeing it negative, positive, but it's just a matter of what's helping me develop the love that I want, you know. So it's really positive in that way if you look at it. You know, I want to develop a loving relationship with a person. So I want to do those things that help me develop that loving relationship. And I want to avoid those things that are going to interfere with that loving relationship. And you say, oh, that's negative, talking about, you know, things that are going to interfere with your loving relationship. No, so it's very positive, because you're actually the emphasis is on, you want to develop a loving relationship, but okay, something is not good for that, so you avoid it. But that's actually positive, you could say, if you look at it in that sense. Does that make sense? Constructive, yeah.
It's information. I need to know. And this coin every coin has two sides. You know, everything that is positive could be viewed negatively, and everything that is negative could be viewed positively.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, with Prakriti, we just need to with Prakriti, you know, we need to move the coins in the direction that we want. We have to have like a higher vision, a higher purpose.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Without that, then it does become negative. Yeah, if you don't have that high purpose, I agree. Yeah. So that's when people on the outside, people perceive it as negative. But when you have that prayojana, when you have that goal, that higher purpose, then there's nothing negative. Nothing negative.
The lila. Yeah. The lila, Rasa lila, the play, you know, we Prakriti's play is balanced, you know.
So Josh is using the word Prakriti. For those that don't know, Prakriti means like material nature. So this material world, Prakriti also means female, because actually the material nature, the material universe is ruled by a female named Durga. She has different names, Parvati. But also, not only that, I mean, it's an energy of the Supreme, and energy means feminine. The energy is feminine, Prakriti, and
Had to be.
the source of the energy, energetic, is masculine, Purusha. So you have these two terms. Purusha means male and Prakriti means feminine. So not only the material energy is Prakriti, but we ourselves, the soul, is Prakriti. We are also feminine. So like I'm in a male body, but actually my soul is actually feminine in terms of that the
What about this cat? Is it
Prakriti is
female or
the
male?
energy. There's a Prakriti right there. And there's the Prakriti is the energy of the Purusha. And the Prakriti is controlled by the Purusha.
It's a play, right? I'm trying to describe like the Leela aspect of it, you know, that actually this material existence and this illusory individual existence that we all signed up for, that we all asked for. We asked the Maya to come and give us this illusion of separateness. You know, there is a play to it. Like once you see that everything is negative is also positive, and everything is positive is also negative, and this is all just a play. You know, then you can have two people like walking through the park. Okay, two people side by side walking through the park. And one of them is dancing, having a nice time, and smelling and enjoying, and the other one is grumbling and like, you know, thank you. The other one is like, you know, getting a tree branch falling on his head and having bad luck, having a bad time, not just in his mind. But, you know, one person could actually have bad things happen to them. They could step on the bindis, you know, all these things. Two people side by side. Maybe they are lovers. You know, they are walking down the same path, same place, same day, same date. You know, and the beautiful.
But how do you know that one with the dancing might have a few shots of marijuana? How do you know he's in ecstasy real or he's in different ecstasy? How do you know? Only Krishna knows who's in ecstasy. Nobody knows. Only Krishna knows.
You know, marijuana for one person on one day might give them a spiritual experience. It happens. One person, one day, one time. Spiritual experience. Marijuana. Oh my God. And then the next day, that person might try again and go, marijuana gives me spiritual experiences. I'm going to take more marijuana. And then they have a bad time. And then they maybe get addicted.
He maybe take it to the next level, which is tablet.
Because marijuana in that way, you know, although I know technically according to this school, you know, it's always bad, but you know, sometimes things that are prescribed can be bad, and sometimes things that are illegal can be good. Sometimes.
The real bhakti is that when you started crying.
Yeah, exactly.
That is the real bhakti, not dancing. When you cry, Prabhupada cries that.
Yeah.
That's the real bhakti. I'm dying to get that one.
Well, I mean, the real bhakti is, it's not so much about how we feel that matters. Whether I'm happy or I'm sad, that's not the main point. The main point is, how does Krishna feel?
That's
you know, is Krishna pleased by... I mean, I might be going through, like, I was actually suffering quite a bit, you know, trying to set up this place, you know, digging holes and a lot of rocks in the ground, trying to plant these trees and everything. So there was definitely, and there's sandflies biting me all the time, and it's like super hot in the summer and cold in the winter and everything. So, you know, I might be undergoing some pain or whatever like that, but the real thing is whether Krishna's pleased or not, you know, and that's the love element. Because when you're developing love, it doesn't really matter how you feel. Like, it matters how the person you love feels. Like, or the mother and a child, right? Does the mother ever think about how she feels?
No, always how the child feels.
She thinks about how the child feels. I don't give a stuff how I feel. You know, it's all about. So that's what we're trying to come to, that point of real love. You know, whether you're so happy that you feel like dancing, or whether you're...
You never know, only Krishna knows.
Or whether you're crying because it's too difficult or whatever like that. But the main thing is whether the Supreme is pleased. You know, that's the main thing. And if we can get to that point, then of real love, we don't really care anymore. We don't really care about ourselves anymore, whether I'm happy or the senses are not happy or the senses are happy. You know, then we realize we're not just the senses. So
It
doesn't
doesn't
really
matter.
matter
I
what the
don't have a
senses
cat
happens.
and Josh got a cat. Doesn't really matter.
I have two
That's
cats.
why Josh happy. He's got a cat. I don't have a cat. I'm gonna get cat.
I
Oh
mean,
God.
Josh also mentioned the word Leela. For some of you might not know what that is. So Leela means pastime. So when God descends to this world, avatar, when he descends, when he incarnates in this world, all of his activities are known as Leela, which means pastimes. However, we cannot compare our activities in the material world to the Supreme Being's activities. So we don't really explain our activities as Leelas. I know some people do. There will be some transcendentalists that say, you know, with my Leela is I'm going to be dancing with all these girls or whatever like that. But that's not really a Leela, because Leela indicates, pastime indicates that there's complete freedom. There's no force, no control on those persons. It's completely free. Like Josh mentioned the word play. It's just like playing, you know. So, but with us, we're called conditioned souls.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
forced to act in particular ways according to our past karma. So according to our past karma, I've done some good things. I followed the laws of Prakriti. So today I feel like dancing and I'm very happy. And then if I disobey the laws of Prakriti, bad karma, then I'm going to have my head down and I'm going to be depressed and crying, you know. So our activities are more about, you know, we're like sort of puppets on a string. You know, we're not really just playing and having a pastime. We're being forced to act in different ways. What's that?
There is conditional free will.
Conditional free will, yeah. So Prabhupada called it minute free choice. We do have free choice, but it's minute. And it only becomes minute when you get a human body. If you don't have a human body, it's not even minute. You know, like the cat is forced to act as a cat, you know, in a particular way. And it's dictated by, you know, I'm hungry, or I need a place to sleep, or, you know, I want to have a partner. Like now, just over the fence, there's all these bulls. And the bulls are going, oh, oh.
Their mating time.
You know, because it's mating time, you know, their genitals are agitated and they're calling out because on the two cows on my side are girls, you know, so you've got two girls on one side and the boys on the other side, and the boys are, you know, all fighting over the girls, you know, they're scrapping with each other and making massive noises.
Wow.
So they're completely being dictated to, you know, completely controlled to act, you know, in that way. It's not like that's their Leela, they feel like they're going to do like that or whatever. There's no real freedom there. So, of course,
Dharma.
So we have freedom, right? We have to walk through a path. Okay, we have to go through a life. Human life. Yeah, we are subject to Maya. You know, that's not our will anymore. Maybe we wanted it. Maybe we attracted this situation without desires previously. But either way, right now in this human body, we are a bull or a cow or a human being, a cat, and we have to walk from here to the end of this life. You know, and we have some free will. You know, we can be walking through a park, and like I said, like one person might be going, oh,
enjoying
indies everywhere, and there's bushes, and there's sometimes rapists are behind the bushes. So I'm very, very concerned, you know, and I'm always checking it. And my heart is pumping a little bit every time I hear a noise in the bush, right? Because it might be a snake. It might be a snake, not a rope, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's why. That's wisdom. Oh, yes, sometimes there are snakes. Yes, yes. But if you are constantly dwelling on there, it's no good. and someone else might be happy. I love the smell. It's springtime, and I love the smell of the pollen and the grass and the little bugs and the kookaburras and eating the worms is very, very nice. Isn't nature wonderful and beautiful? And maybe they go too far too. Maybe they are not even paying attention to the danger. We are the ones finding this middle road, and we identify that mysterious and anxious often make themselves quite miserable, right? Because they are walking through the park going, oh, 1 year, 1 day closer to death. My best years are behind me. I don't have much money. These people over here have got a better car than me. My knee hurts. I've turned 50 now. Maybe everything is over, all this kind of thing. And I'm going to point out that it's possible to apply that same fear, paranoia, anxiety, get out of control in a spiritual context. Oh, the world is telling you about all these kind of things that we've already talked about.
No, as I mentioned, we have our mind. The spiritual seeker has their mind on their goal, their loving relationship with the Supreme. But I want to get there.
We don't have to repeat it again.
Yep.
It's okay.
So
this is just our test, our balance, and we are employing spiritual systems, and we are employing teachers and maybe other things as well to help us to navigate that path wisely.
Yeah. So, I'll just sum it up. That's what I really want, that loving relationship. So my avoiding all the potential obstacles and anything in the way is positive in the sense that it's also helping me to reach where I want to get, that I'm going to avoid, certain, influences that might be bad for my relationship with the Supreme.
So when you are going towards something, you're going towards Bhakti Tree for dinner, okay? Yep. But you're in the back streets of Mayfield and you don't know the back streets very well, right? A way that you can find the Bhakti Tree is by the smell.
That's what I was saying on the WhatsApp, Josh, as well, was that although we are in Kali Yuga, the material world, you can see the beauty in it because it is the reflection of the spiritual world. Yeah. I've said that to Abhay years ago. I'm like, well, how beautiful would the spiritual world be? Because look at this place. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there is Prakriti or whatever we're talking about. Yeah. It's so beautiful. Yes. You only have to look out your window and go, wow, look at the tree.
And we can really appreciate.
But when we relate it back to Krishna and go, Krishna, this is all Krishna's energy, and it's a change of consciousness in how you see it.
Really appreciate how beautiful it is too when we have some understanding of how to get to our destination. Right? I know how to get to the Bhakti Tree because I just follow my nose.
You live in Cookshill, you knows you're going to go to Junction. How come
I get to Adi Raj all the time, man. Because I have Bhagavad Gita, I have spiritual master, I have the smell of the curry, So that allows me, that then gives me even more freedom to enjoy the roses in the old lady's front yard and the people that are smiling as I walk past them in the street, So my question then to Abhay is, what is the equivalent here? How do I know that I'm on the right track and that I am every step, every day, I am getting closer to Krishna?
If you love yourself, you love whole world. Everything will be in the place. Simple as.
I think Kali Yuga, the knowledge of or the awareness of Kali Yuga acts as a deterrent, like not to engage in
and we understand that. But we don't only want to deter it. We don't only want to know what not to do. We have to have a sense. How do I know that today I am a little bit closer or I'm on the right track? How can you tell? With Bhakti Tree, the smell. It's obvious. With my girlfriend.
When you love your girlfriend, do you know it? How do you know it? Some stage you probably will know it. Sometimes inside Krishna will tell you that you're on the right path, and then you walk. isn't it?
If
Simple
you,
as same as that.
if you're constantly
eyes-
thinking about Krishna, if you wake up and you think, oh, what can I do for Krishna?
And Krishna will give you the
everything you do
intelligence.
is like, how can I do this for Krishna? Then you know you're getting closer to
That's
Krishna.
it. Simple.
I think it comes from within, isn't it? You
Now,
feel
Josh asked question from Abhay and everybody answering that.
Yeah.
No, just a little
That's good. Everyone's very stimulated. It's good that everyone's very
you feel
stimulated.
Josh, join us. You'll be
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
Just be with us. That's all.
just hang on with Gosha.
Remember that if just because you feel good, that doesn't mean that you are closer to Krishna. Because because Kali Yuga means you are corrupt. You're corrupt. You cannot trust yourself.
So what did you say?
No, it doesn't necessarily mean that.
No,
I mean,
not agree.
that's the energy around us, but we don't have to surrender to that energy. We don't have to surrender that. If we did, there would be no point to attempt spiritual life if there was no way out. No, there is alternatives, and we do have that minute free choice. So if we use our free choice rightly and take to a authorized spiritual process, then we can, have a very positive future and get free from all these dualities and difficulties and overcome Kali Yuga and everything like that. I mean, it's said that even personalities on higher planets and the heavenly planets are wanting to take birth on Earth in Kali Yuga because they know that just by living a very short life in Kali Yuga, which it is, maximum 100 years, very short life. On other planets, they live much longer lives. So, but just in a very short time, they can achieve spiritual perfection in Kali Yuga on Earth just by chanting the holy names of the Lord, Hare Krishna. Yeah. So people on other planets are looking towards this particular time, Kali Yuga, on this particular planet.
We are very lucky. We already
they're
here.
thinking this is that you guys are very lucky. You guys are very lucky to be here. That just by this very simple process of coming together and chanting, you can achieve complete spiritual realization. So it's really positive if you look at it in that way too. So in one sense here, materially, Kali Yuga is a very bad time, but spiritually, Kali Yuga is a great time. Spiritually, Kali Yuga is a fantastic time.
It is a wonderful time.
Because in the other yugas, Satya Yuga, you have to wait 100,000 years to get liberated. Treta Yuga, 10,000 years, Dwapara Yuga, 1,000 years. And the processes were more difficult. Like that. But in Kali Yuga, very quickly, just a few years, just simple process, just chanting, and you can get complete success in life, complete perfection. So in that way, Kali Yuga is a very fantastic time. If we take to spiritual life, and Kali Yuga is a fantastic time. If you don't take to spiritual life in Kali Yuga, that's very unfortunate. That's that you had the human form of life, which is meant for the purpose of spiritual realization. And if we don't use it for spiritual realization, that is said to be, a great loss. It's like you had a great wealth, but you're a miser and you didn't use it. The Sanskrit for miser is kripana. So if you're a miser, it means you have great wealth, but you don't know how to use it. So human life is a great wealth because we can get moksha, mukti, liberated. We can become happy. We can become completely happy and help others to be happy. That potential is there. But if we don't use it, then that's a great, loss. It's a waste. So we want to use our life very positively for the best purpose, and that is our spiritual practice. And in terms of how do we know, Josh is asking, how do we know if we're progressing? In the Bhagavad Gita, it explains in many places how you know you're progressing is by, are you developing the spiritual qualities? So, I mean, you could make it a very esoteric, very subtle thing. Oh, it's all about how you feel and everything like that. But no, we want to make it very scientific in terms of, you know, there's some tangible criteria. It can be very tangible and replicable. So, like, you can look at 13th chapter, text 8 to 12. So it talks about different qualities there. And then if you gradually develop these qualities, that's a good sign.
It's very big, 8 to 12. Oh my God, 8 to 12. I read this one, it'll become a Christmas.
No, chapter 13, 8 to 12.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of things where you know you're progressing in spiritual life if you're developing these kind of things, like humility, pridelessness. You know, it's mentioned.
I'm lucky to have one out of that.
Non-violence, tolerance. No, I mean that's your humility, Gulshan, that you're not seeing those good qualities.
I'm a super idiot.
So you've got the humility one because you're saying you don't possess any of them. So that's your humility. So that's there.
And then Deepa is the prideless.
I don't know about that.
And then Abha is the non-violence. And Bhaktimal is the tolerance. Bob is
We
the
all got
simplicity.
one. I don't know whether it applies, you know, if we each have take one. It doesn't work.
And
then if you look,
one, I'll just have one of the qualities. I'll be happy with that.
And George has got an old age. And
so these are some tangible criteria that how you can tell if you're progressing, that we should be developing these characteristics. And also, if we look at the 12th chapter from text 13, 12th chapter, text 13 through till 19. Yeah, 12th chapter, text 13 through to 19. So it starts off, one who is non-envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind intelligent fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So, like, if you have these qualities, what is it saying here? If you have these qualities, you become
devotee.
Very dear to Krishna, which is in Sanskrit is Priya. So you become Priya. You see the word there, Priya, the last word, Priya. And all these verses finishes with the word Priya. If you have those qualities mentioned in the verse, it says you become Priya to Krishna. Who wants to become Krishna Priya? Put up your
Yay!
hand. We want to become dear to Krishna.
Can you tell me how to spell Priya?
P-R-I-Y-A-H. So it's the last word of the verse.
Sorry, can you just say it again? Priya?
P for pineapple.
You got it.
R for Rama. I for ice cream. Y for yes. A for apple. H for hello. So that's Priya, means dear, D-E-A-R. So you become very dear, very dear. Very dear, beloved.
Not the deer
you become
skin sitting on the yogi. Not the deer.
Okay.
You know, like.
Yeah. My sister's name is Priya.
Priya, yeah. So you won't forget that.
No.
So this is how we become dear, very dear to God, very dear to Krishna, by possessing these divine qualities. These are all spiritual qualities. These are actually already there within us. These are the soul's qualities. They're already there. It's nothing, how am I going to get these? No, you already have them, mate. But they're just covered over by the
Maya and ignorance.
By all the Maya, by all the ignorance. So you just have to remove that. And then you think, well, how am I going to remove all that Maya? How am I going to remove all that ignorance? What are we going to do?
Chanting and chanting.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Heard of that before? Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Familiar.
Rama, Rama, Hare, Hare. You So obviously we should fall out like a child crying for the mother, so this very sincere, serious chanting of the Lord's names will help to clear off all the rubbish that's over the top of us, and all these beautiful natural qualities will automatically awaken within us. So it's not something you have to get externally from some other source, but it's already there, but you just got to remove the junk. So the chanting is recommended for removing the junk, and then naturally these good qualities will develop.
It's a discovery, not an invention.
True. I mean, we're saying they'll automatically develop if you follow the process properly, but also you should be conscious of these qualities, and you should be wanting to develop them. You should. I know that it pleases Krishna for me to be friendly to other living entities. So we should try to do that because it's what he likes. So this is what he likes. So I'll try to do that. It's you become dear to Krishna if you're not envious of others. So I'm going to try to not be envious. Whenever the envy comes up, I'm going to say, oh, this will not please Krishna. Don't want to be envious anymore. I was envious. And Prabhupada one time said, envy means you don't like someone. So we should try to remove that. Whenever you have that, project those thoughts, I don't like you, I don't like that person, then we have to realize this is not pleasing to Krishna. So we have to, if we want to keep developing our relationship with Krishna, we have to deal with that. We have to deal with that one, So even if someone treats me like an enemy, I hate this Abai, he's a rascal, he's a nonsense. So even if someone hates me, but I don't hate them back, I don't feel any hatred or envy or anything dislike back, because that's a stumbling block for my loving relationship with the Supreme, like I said. So yeah, we have to, as I was told, we should just do the needful. We should do the needful. Whatever's going to help us develop that loving relationship, this is what we need to do. And that makes it very scientific, something very tangible. Okay, yeah, I need to develop these qualities: non-violence, non-enviousness, friendly to others, like that, so forth, humility, tolerance, cleanliness. Okay, I'm a very dirty kind of person, but Krishna likes cleanliness, so I'm going to try to be clean from now on. So, I'll clean the dishes, and I'll clean my clothes, and I'll clean my body, and, whatever you need to do. I might feel like being dirty, but, Krishna likes clean, so I'm going to be clean. So this is how it develops. This is how it develops.
See you guys.
See you.
See you,
Josh.
Stay safe. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, but how do you set the level of cleanliness, Prabhuji? I clean, but then people say that your standard of cleaning is not good enough. But I clean. Don't even laugh. And that's why my wife left me.
Oh, no.
I did clean then, and she said, I've got to clean after that. What's the point? I said, well, that's what I clean. But it means like, who set the bar of cleaning? I did it for my heart, and Krishna knows that I spend the time and clean it. But if it's not meeting your standard, that's your problem, not mine.
Are
Isn't
you?
it?
Oh, goodness.
Well, I don't know. What's the bar of standard of that cleanliness? It's just I did it bottom of my heart. That's all.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're the authority, you set the standard. But if you're working under some other authority, then you have to follow their standard.
But you're always working somewhere as authority. I'm not a temple president. I never will be. Always working.
I mean, so like now in Vine Street at home, you're the authority there. But if you go into, New Gokula's temple room or the Bhakti tree or whatever, then you have to follow whoever the authority in those places are. So,
yeah,
and that's going to be.
Yeah, that's gotta be difficult.
Indian clean though.
Oh, don't you start. See, she's an Indian clean. Look at it.
But I mean, basic things should be there. I mean, we might have different standards, but basic things are you should have a bath or a shower at least once a day and put on clean clothes. At least once a day.
I clean my shower once in a week.
No, no, no. I'm
You
saying
have
our body.
shower.
Our body.
You
Oh,
have
body twice a
shower
day.
once a week.
At least once a day, and put on clean clothes afterwards that have been washed. And then if you pass stool, this is just common hygiene, then you have a shower after you pass stool. That's a good standard.
What happens if you have got a bidet? Is that good enough?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's one standard, but it's better to have a bath afterwards, a shower. But I mean, if you're away from a shower, if there's no shower around, you just do whatever you can. Actually, it said if you're not able to take a bath, you can clean yourself by chanting mantras.
Huh?
Hare Krishna, Hare
Really?
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I know one time it was more than once actually. It was my service, my duty to wake the deities. It means I have to wake them at 4 o'clock in the morning before Mangalarati at 4:30 and offer them sweets and so forth, wake them up. To do that, you have to normally get up by 3:30. I remember on different occasions, somehow or other, my alarm didn't work, or I didn't set it properly, or I didn't hear it, and I just wake up automatically at, say, 4 o'clock. Now, I know if I take a shower and put on clean clothes, I'm not going to be there in time. I remember one time, I think I woke up at 4:20.
Oh, no.
You know, and Monglay's at 4:30, so definitely no time to take a shower. So what do? I get out of bed, just throw some water on my face, and while I'm running to the temple, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and then wake the deities. You know,
You went to the temple uncleaned.
No, but this mantra is saying Om Apavitra Pavitro Va Sava Vastangadopiva Yasmaret Pundari Kaksam Sabaya Byantarashuchi. Whether one is pure or impure, clean or not clean, if one remembers the lotus-eyed Lord, Pundarikaksha, then one becomes clean,
Wow.
inside and outside. So
I have to learn that one.
So yeah, this is all the pujaris should know that verse. This is a special pujari verse. So just by remembering the Lord, and of course chanting is the best way to remember the Lord, then you become clean. So it's actually known as, but don't cheat, Gulshan. Don't take advantage of that. You get up at the proper time and take a bath.
Prabhuji, I've got a medical condition, you know that.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's okay. So yeah, so there's no hard and fast rules. As it says, there's no hard and fast rules. The main thing is chanting. With chanting, there's no big rules about that. The main thing is just chant somehow or other. There's so many rules for deity worship and so forth. But the best process is chanting. There's no hard and fast rules. But yeah, we try to be clean because Krishna likes clean. Krishna's the most cleanest person. If you want to develop a relationship with a clean person, what do you have to become?
Clean.
Clean. Can a dirty person have a loving relationship with a clean person? No way. You know, so that's what we're trying to do. And of course, cleanliness is two things. Externally, of course, but then internally. Internally means your heart. That means through chanting. That cleans our heart of what's dirty inside the heart. Lust, greed, anger, envy, pride, like we've explained these things. So how do you clear this dirt from the heart? That's Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we become internally clean through chanting, externally clean through taking a bath, and then Krishna's pleased. You become dear to Krishna. You become dear to Krishna. So this is our goal. You know, why are we clean? Because we want to become dear to Krishna. You know, why do we chant? Because we want to become dear to Krishna. You know, why do we associate with devotees? Because we want to become dear to Krishna. Why do you want to develop good qualities? You know, godly qualities, because you want to become dear to Krishna. So it's all motivated by that. So always understanding our goal, that we want to have a loving relationship with Krishna, that we're a spirit soul and we want to have a relationship with Krishna, and that's the real happy life. That's the perfect life. So therefore, we want to become humble and tolerant and compassionate and clean and all these kind of things. That's the motivating factor, and that's very positive. That's very positive. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So
Hare
much,
Krishna.
Abhay. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Katie, I'll see you for Kirtan.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
But one thing I
When
will
is
tell you
that?
that I
Oh.
did not understand the conversation and the soul searching because English is not my first language. I didn't understand half of it.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's just
What was the conversation?
Josh is thinking that we focus too much on the negative things, you know, Kali Yuga and you know, the governments and so forth, and vaccines and things like that. So, and he thinks we should talk more about, you know, just the spiritual part. I mean, completely spiritual parts, like, you know, Krishna's pastimes and the spiritual world and things like that. So that was his thoughts. Just focus on the spiritual side, not on the, you know, material world, negative side, things like that. So what I was saying is that ideally we should have a balance between the both. Yeah, with one eye you should see all the defects and the faults, and the other eye you should keep focused on Krishna and the soul and everything like that.
Good point. Bye-bye.
Oh,
Bye.
I thought Bob
Thank
said
you.
no, I can't do it.
See everybody.
Bye.
Good to see you, Deepa.
Same here. We
What
only
about
heard you.
me? Good to see Gulshan. What about that? Gulshan is nothing. Forget it. It's all right.
Because I know, I mean, I know examples myself, those persons that weren't careful with Maya, then they fell away, you know, they fell away. You know, you've got to do that. Like I said on the road, you can't just be all positive. Oh, such a beautiful day. I'm just going to drive at any speed and any lane and everything like that. It's all good. It's all lovely and everything. No, but you've got to be conscious. What about a cow crosses the road? What are you going to do?
Cow, it's not India. Cow crosses the road. It's Australia.
No, in our area, we have cows on the road all the time here.
Really? You got no
We've got
fence?
farms all around us. You have to be conscious. Because you know what's going to happen if you hit a cow? It's very bad for the car, very bad for the people, very bad for the cow. You know, so don't be an illusion. Don't be dreamy. Oh, I'm just meditating on Krishna Leela and everything while you're driving the car. No, you have to be conscious.
That's why, you
know, like Prabhupada said, first become conscious, then become Krishna conscious. Don't bypass becoming conscious, thinking that you're just going to become Krishna Leela and everything like that. You're not going to make it. You're not. 100% you're not. Yeah. If you ignore Maya, the reality of being in the material world and under Maya and Kali Yuga, you're not going to make it. If you don't acknowledge the different factors of Kali Yuga and avoid them, you're not going to make it in Krishna consciousness. Yeah, she's going to cut you down, you know, and that's it, you know. It's said that Maya has two potencies, two Shaktis. She covers over your knowledge and throws you down.
Oh.
Not so nice. She's like a wrestler.
And the second one?
She throw you down.
No, but the thing is, if Maya has very powerful...
Into delusion, further delusion, illusion means like lower species of life.
If Maya wants to help you, she'll take you to Krishna.
Of course.
That's absolutely
that's the
the
Krishna's
truth.
energy. Yes.
So that's my point. It works. You know, you've got to have a balance because it's not, you can do anything you like. You can't. You have to follow the guidelines, the rules. You know, because I mean, he's indicating, you know, it's like Leela, means like it's play, you just do whatever you like. But if you have that approach that you're just going to do whatever you feel like doing, Maya's just going to rip you to bits and spit you out, you know. So, and, you know, so we don't want to be negative, but you just got to see it as it is, you know, like Bhagavad Gita as it is, right? So this is the reality that we're in the material world. and we're a conditioned soul, you know, being punished for our, you know, rebellion against Krishna. So these things we have to understand. We have to follow the rules. We have to follow the rules. If you're in the prison and you don't follow the rules, you're going to be in there a long time, mate.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And if you follow the rules, they might let you out sooner, isn't it? They have it on called good parole, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good behavior.
Good behavior.
Yeah, good
That's right.
behavior, parole. You get on parole if you have good behavior. It means they might let you out quicker.
But I'm on the good behavior working, you know, service for the Bhakti
So
tree.
you better behave, Gulshan. We
I
know
do.
about you. You better
For
behave.
last 5 years, I'm at the Bhakti tree doing the service. If I'm not on the good behavior, they will kick me out. But they didn't.
Ah,
That means I'm on the good behavior.
okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, Hare Krishna. You all have a good week.
Have a good
Thank
week.
you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was late. I get the time mixed up. We start at 3, is it?
Yes,
Oh,
I mean
what?
this was set. This timing was set 2 years ago.
Oh,
As you
okay.
know, when there was a lockdown and everything like that or whatever. So I mean, it might not be suitable for everyone now. I mean, that's why we also just started up the Saturday one later for people that are working Monday to Friday at this time. But we
Yeah.
set it up at this time because it's between the lunch shift and the dinner shift at the Bhakti Tree. Thinking it
Oh,
was mainly.
I thought it was starting at 4 o'clock our time, so I was late.
That's okay. It's no problem.
Yeah, no, but good. I mean, it's good. Yeah, thank you for your time, and
You're welcome.
and I shall hopefully connect on Saturday.
Okay, that'll be nice.
Yeah, I've missed a few. I've just been last Saturday. I was too swamped with getting the end of year, the books